everyone, and welcome to another edition of Dayton Sports Huddle, The Dish. We're here at Submarine House in Centerville, our normal home for the show. I'm Jeff Lauterbach with my co-host Richie Moody. And with us today is Mr. Rob Dement, Athletic Director at Centerville High School. And Richie, I know we're both area residents, and obviously with Dayton Sports Huddle, we are getting more involved in the local sports scene. And it's late February. Centerville boys and girls basketball have high hopes for the tournament, and they're hosting the sectional tournament. And I know as a referee, you've gotten some experience getting to know some of the youth programs at Centerville, so it's a good time to be an elk.
Yeah, absolutely. And we were just talking before we got on camera as well about how many tournaments that are Centerville's hosting, which makes it nice for fans around here, like ourselves, especially as we get closer to March Madness. And I was just giving Rob a compliment on host them all, host as many as you can, because I know that overwhelms him, but we love the fact that the more things that we have going on here, and I really think this is a hub of sports because we have such easy access off of 675, 75. So, you know, what types of things are we hosting right now? And just to give the fans a little idea of what we got going on.
Sure. This Friday and Saturday, we're hosting the Division I wrestling sectionals. We have two sectional tournaments going at the same time. Because we're hosting wrestling, we're also supposed to be hosting basketball on the same weekend. So Trotwood Madison High School have been gracious enough to serve as our host for that. So the games are going to move out to Trotwood for this Friday and Saturday, and then they'll come back to Centerville following those games. Now, if Centerville wins, we're not allowed to play at home. So as we continue to advance, we have to find other venues for our team to play in, and hopefully they make that an issue.
Yeah, and you also wrapped up the middle school tournaments that you guys hosted as well, correct?
We certainly did. I think we have one more. I think we have a championship game coming up this week, and then we're all finished with the middle school.
Was that boys and girls as well?
We did. We hosted both boys and girls. It's been a busy couple of weeks.
Well, it's a nice lead up to March Madness for us sports fans.
Absolutely.
And I know this has been a terrific year for Centerville boys and girls basketball. You have the top seed in boys in the Southwest sectionals.
We do.
And then did you get the same for girls? I didn't.
We did. As far as the seed-wise, our girls are entering the sectional as the number one seed team as well. Boys as well.
And I know the girls team has. I mean, you have a lot of highly recruited players already, and you've had a really remarkable year. The boys team, we have Damian Burrs behind the camera, our producer. I remember we did a segment before flying to the hoop at Centerville practice, and you guys were 4 and 5. Since that segment, you guys haven't lost a game. So I just thought about that coming to the show today.
I think they need us around more.
I'll tell you, Coach Cups, when they came back from the fifth loss, which was at Moeller, Moeller was really good. It was a struggle. But, you know, he's a great coach. His players kept believing, and 13 wins in a row later.
I think early on, and you can speak to this as well, but I went and watched quite a few games early on against, I believe it was Springboro, and I think we played someone else before Christmas. I think it was Lebanon or someone, and there was always sparks in there, and as any coach, that's what you're really looking for early, and then it's a matter of gelling and making it really go together as you get closer to the tournament. It's not where you start, it's where you finish.
100% agree, and I agree. I think part of the spark is the 6'9" kid in the middle. He's getting better and better, and I think the people around him utilizing him obviously a little differently than we did at the beginning of the year. And then our seniors have just done a tremendous job, from Ryan Marshall down to Jason Sneed, to Mitchell, to Matt Pearson. I mean, there's a great senior class.
And I think that's a pretty hard task, because I remember when I graduated from Brookville, the first year that I had a chance to play with a taller player. Now minded he was only 6'7", but it was different because they take up so much more space, and there's so many different things that are going on that sometimes it takes the other players, a little bit of time to adjust.
I agree, 100%. Yep, that's a good point.
And this has been a breakout season for Mo Jai. His last name, the N is silent, yes. I believe. But we were talking before before the show as well, off camera, and at the Wayne game, he just looks like a completely more polished player now around the basket. Of course, he has natural shot blocking skills, but his touch around the basket now and his moves around the basket seem to be more refined.
Yeah, absolutely. Mo has worked in the athletic office as one of our student aides. He is just an unbelievable kid. Very nice kid. And I think that his confidence, like the way that I know him now, the way he carries himself, when he comes to me after the games now, he makes, he very would say anything, but now, he talks to me, he's confident. I think he knows how well he's playing, and I think he enjoys. And Coach Cup says it best. He really doesn't care about the individual accolades. He just wants the team to do well. But I also think he understands that he's playing a pretty big role in that.
Oh, absolutely. And you get to see the kids in such a unique environment. They're student athletes first now. You being in the athletic department, you get to see them more in that relaxed environment. Boys and girls, I know they're all just super, super nice, but any stories about any of the players that stand out to you?
Well, one in particular that you asked, that probably would be Cody McMahon. Cody's a freshman basketball player, and she pretty much runs the athletic department when she comes into the office. She
not surprised,
not shy at all. Just a great kid, great personality. Lights the room up when she walks in. She's at my desk quite often when I'm out, and I come back and she'll be sitting there. And I could see her sitting there someday, to be honest with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I know, super nice kid. Quick story about my daughter is a sixth grader at one of the Centerville schools, and Cody took time after a game, to take a picture with her, meet and greet and talk to her. You don't see that a lot from kids anymore, and even at the high school level, it just shows the character of her personality and who she is.
Absolutely. Yep. Great family.
And that's talking about Mo and Cody. That's a good segue into the. Obviously there's high hopes this year with the tournament for both teams, but next year and the next few years after that are looking pretty good for Centerville basketball.
Yes, I think it's a pretty good statement. We have the potential to continue to get better. The senior classes this year are laying the groundwork for what these younger players behind them can just continue to build off of. Good point.
And I know both coaches have reached a milestone this year, 300 wins for both around the same time.
They did. Coach Prefer reached 300 at Beaver Creek, and again, these guys they're incredible people, great coaches, but even better people, and. They don't want the attention, they don't want the accolades. They understand that they got to 300 because they have great players and great assistants around them, but they're also great coaches themselves. So it's tough to honor them because they really didn't want it. But in honoring Adam, it made one of the assistant coaches, Coach Cups, kind of look up. We had no idea. He was so when Adam reached 300, Coach Cups was at 299. We had no idea. So we had a day to get ready. And of course, Coach Cups really didn't want anything to do with celebrating, and I understand that. But as an athletic director, they're awesome coaches, and they need to be celebrated.
And I know as an athletic director, you also take pride in the tradition and the success of all the. Obviously, we hear about basketball, football, to a degree, baseball, but the secondary sports are the sports that get the least attention. Centerville is also a powerhouse in those areas. I know cross country has been a strength, and I know you talk about wrestling, and you mentioned bowling. It's just football. Centerville is not just a football and basketball school.
That's true. The level of excellence that is expected at Centerville carries across the board, no matter what the sport is. This winter has been a fantastic season. We will. Wrestling had a great weekend at the GWAC. They've had a lot of injuries, but they were able to come in second in the league in the GWAC East and then get third overall. Great showing by them. And then all the other teams in the winter won the GWAC East. So we had a really successful. If you're metric is winning, which unfortunately that's a metric that a lot of people use. I like to look at the other aspects that our coaches bring to the table and our athletes bring to the table, which is how they represent our community and the manner, as you were saying, that how they just carry themselves and the things that they do outside of winning games. And it's been a great season so far.
Well, that kind of is a perfect segue into my next question. As an athletic director, what are some of the criteria that you look for to create such a high standard at Centerville High School, and not only just around the GWAG, but the state? Obviously, everyone knows a lot of the accolades that Centerville has accomplished, whether it's baseball, football, basketball, and even, like you said, bowling, men's volleyball there for a while, had a nice run. What criteria are you looking for besides those wins and losses, and to create that atmosphere?
I think it's to have a coach in place that creates an atmosphere that allows kids to reach their full potential and do so in an environment that you don't want to be afraid to make mistakes. If you're going to compete at a high level, you have to be able to put it all out there, and when you do that, you're going to make mistakes. And I think we have great coaches that understand that. Now, obviously you're going to correct the mistakes, but you have to create an environment where kids are going to compete at a level where they just aren't afraid to go at it. And I think all of our coaches do a great job of that, to be honest.
So is that from just you think their nature, or is there anything in particular that you do, or is it part of the evaluations? Just to dig in a little deeper.
Sure. Be honest with you. Now, I started teaching in '92, and then my wife and I, we were down in Georgetown, Ohio, a little school down near the High River. I was there 4 years, and then we came back. We're from Springfield, so we came back to the Miami Valley in '96, '97. And I've been here since that time, and up until 8 years ago when I came to Centerville, I just got my brains beat in by Centerville. In every sport that I coached and we competed against. And like everybody from the outside, I had my own excuses as to why. But the great thing about becoming a part of Centerville is now I know why. And that why is this community. I think it's a community that understands what excellence is. Excellence, you don't just become excellent. You got to work at it. You're going to have to sacrifice for it. You're going to have to do things that aren't normal to be excellent. And I think that as a coach, when you have a community that understands that, you can kind of take what you're doing as a coach and just run with that. And I think, if we ask you to bring your daughter in at 5 a.m., you're going to bring your daughter in at 5 a.m. I mean, it's a tremendous community to be a part of. Now, with that comes the pressures of being excellent, but you know that going in. And that's why I love it.
I've heard some of those stories, those 5 a.m.s from Coach Dickman and with the baseball program. Haven't heard, well, I'm sure there are some with football, with lifting and all that, but that's part of what makes you great, and that's what part of makes each individual player in a team sport great as well. So.
Yeah, the commitment to excellence, that's a perfect transition to a project we're excited about in conjunction with Dayton Sports Huddle and Damien at Dundit Sports Club Sport about to start production on the Defending the Tradition docu-series, which really, in essence, it captures the excellence, the commitment, the behind-the-scenes of Centerville football, and molding the past with the present. And I know, obviously, last year 2-8 with football, and that's un-Centerville-like. And I know actually it was 0-8, and then you capped off the season with 2 great wins. But actually, we were all sitting around talking about how it would make a good documentary as far as capturing rebounding, a proud program that has had a lot of success rebounding from such a difficult season. And then it evolved into the docu-series that we have, and we're excited about that. That's going to be really intriguing, because we're going to have ongoing interviews with yourself and Coach Olery and current and past players, and how the community rallies around Bill's Donuts, as an example, a fundraiser to what the the helmets.
The Riddell Insight.
Yeah. I'm having a brain freeze about that. That's all technical, but that's
sure.
Safety. That's important. But what can you tell us about, like last year? Obviously, a lot of pressure on when you and Coach Olery had a season like that. People are calling for your heads, and people are saying this isn't how Centerville football is like. And you went to the state or you went to the playoffs the year before, graduated 18 starters, I believe.
We did.
And so how was that going through a season like that? How did you grow? How did you withstand something like that?
Sure. I had the opportunity to obviously be there in Coach Olery's first year when he took a team, and they went 9-1 in the regular season, won the GWAC East, and then blew out a team in the first round of the playoff, lost to a really good Pick North team. So it was a great season. Obviously lost a lot to graduation. And I get a chance, I'm very close to the program, and I get to see every day what goes on. And the thing that I knew about this past season, because I'm there, I'm not at the 30,000 foot level like most fans are, and we understand the expectation of excellence and winning, and that our base is not going to be happy with where we're at. But I can tell you from my perspective, watching our head coach and his assistants work during the 0-8 stretch, there was no difference in how they were working during the 8-0 stretch the year before. And that, from my perspective, that's when you know that things are going to be okay. Because you just watch every day how hard they worked, how much they believed in the kids, how hard they kept coaching. And I truly believe, and I think you'll see it play out, that if our last two games were our first two games and then we played the rest of our schedule, we don't want quite a few ball games.
Well, and the fact that you graduated 18 out of 22, you have 18 new position players that are playing, whether they're veterans or not, juniors, seniors, is irrelevant. It's their experience, and you had so many close games early on that could have went either way, and a lot of fans don't realize that a break here or there, maybe one situation happens, and then, or maybe one little thing happens, or maybe one of those players makes a great play. There's so many things and intangibles that goes into it when you have to replace 18 players. So, the macro view, those fans, your true fans understand what you went through, and that's why there's probably not as much of most of it's probably outside of the bubble, if you will.
Yeah, zero issues inside the bubble, I can tell you that. I truly think Coach Olery I'll retire, and he'll still be the head football coach, to be quite honest with you. Hopefully I make it that long. But the other thing is our schedule. Like we have a tough schedule, and so we knew obviously going in that if we didn't grow up quickly, things would be tough, and that's kind of how it started out. So we're okay with that.
It's amazing those just if one of those games goes a different way and you get a win.
Yes.
Changes the confidence of every one of those players, coaching staff, community, so on and so forth. And then who knows? Maybe you go 4-4 instead of 0-8, and now you got a 6-4 season.
That's very true.
And I know you had a lot of you had younger players, obviously anchored by Chase Harrison. It's very rare at a program like Centerville to have a freshman quarterback, and I know he's already been offered by Louisville, however I like to say Louisville, but I always get chastised by it. But he has interest from a lot of programs, and he was just named, I believe, Max Preps named him on the freshman All-American team.
That's true, yes.
So you anchored by a freshman, a quarterback, and a lot of experience. So this year, more expectations, I guess. So how do you think that will play out as far as pressure and expectations for younger kids?
Chase is a talented player. I think the expectations are going to be very high for him. I think that's one of the reasons that if we would have had more games on our schedule moving forward, we would have been pretty tough to handle, because I think Chase really grew as a quarterback as the season wore on, and kind of took command of that offense. And we played pretty well down the stretch. He played really well along with that. But
there's nothing more valuable than those reps, and albeit maybe they didn't result into wins, but getting those reps in those game situations has tremendous bounce for this upcoming year. So, what's this upcoming year look like? I'm sure you got quite a few people coming back. Then the 4
we do
from the previous year.
We do. There's a lot of experience coming back. I think expectations are a lot higher, obviously. Schedule's still a little challenging, but that's okay. We go into a little different Greater Western Ohio Conference schedule with some teams leaving, so we shake
that
that
does
around.
start next year. That does start.
Yeah,
Okay.
we pick up a few different games that we haven't had in the past league-wise, and
Who are they?
we play. There's 10 teams now in the G1 moving forward for next year. We'll play everybody in the Greater Western Conference except for Trop, and they'll be our jamboree game, that third scrimmage.
Okay.
So we'll play them in that jamboree, and then play the other schools throughout the schedule, which is great. Our week 3 game this year, 1-year game, will be against Dunbar. So we picked up Dunbar. So we still open with Fairfield and Lakota West, and then we have Dunbar, and then we go through the rest of the league.
Gotcha.
And then expounding on defending the tradition, the whole concept of the human interest element. I like to say that it's going to be about football, but it's kind of more about life and the community and on and off the field and the past and the present. And Coach Olery is part of that, because he really kind of, it all blends together with Coach Olery, because obviously Coach Greg is the guy who really propelled Centerville football, and his Brent's dad, I believe, was an assistant
Yes,
under, and then he was a longtime coach, and Brent obviously having played, and then playing at Ohio State, and then he's back to continue the tradition, and it has to be exciting to have someone with those roots leading the program.
Absolutely, yeah. Brent brings so much to the table as far as everything that you just mentioned, but then also just his energy and his vision. He's a visionary, and he's not afraid to look at things and do things differently, and he's a tremendous offensive coach. And so we're looking at his partnership with Chase is going to be so important, really, for both moving forward, because of what they're going to be able to do together.
And another human interest story we're going to touch on in the documentary is on Jeff Kennard, he's in the Centerville High School Hall of Fame, and he, for both football and baseball, went on, as Richie knows, Richie's a longtime minor leaguer, and Jeff Kennard pitched in the Yankees and Reds system. And
he was one of my first clients as giving him lessons, and then that was when he went from Centerville to Wren Lake Community College. So before he went with the Yankees, and then he actually worked for me a little bit at our baseball academy as well when he came back from the Yankees. So.
And he's touched a lot of people in the community with his work, and I'm today wearing the Strikeout Cancer sweatshirt, and for those of you who don't know, Jeff is battling, I believe it's stage 4 metastatic bone cancer, and there's a lot of fundraisers to help him. He's a small business owner. His wife is a small business owner. They have 2 small kids, and that's another example of a rallying point around the community. There's multiple ones. This John Radish, who has Power Sports in Centerville, created the Strikeout Cancer shirts, and we'll post information on the Dayton Sports Huddle Facebook page on 100% of the proceeds of these go to Strikeout Cancer, the Kennard Strong, as it says. And I know you're familiar with Jeff, just as Richie is. What can you tell me about just the whole, how the Centerville High School Hall of Famers and the former players that are still involved in the program or like to come back and contribute to the students?
Right, absolutely. First of all, I know Jeff knows this, that the Elk Nation is with him, obviously, and we're going to do everything we can to support him and his family as he battles through this. And that's so much more important than winning and losing games, obviously. We just had a recent Hall of Fame induction ceremony. We just added 4 new members to the Hall of Fame just last week, so to go in with Jeff.
Yeah, and that there's so many great stories of, and that's what we're going to be capturing. And I know you and Coach Olery are excited about it. We are too, about which will end up being it'll be a weekly show during the season, but leading up to it, a lot of behind the scenes and history and capturing what Centerville football is all about and what Centerville sports are all about. And it's people like Jeff Kennard and the Hawks, the Hawk brothers. There's so many examples of kids like I can't think of the names right now, but there's a teacher who had 4 kids who played Big Ten football. Yeah, and then there's a couple teachers that have had kids who either currently at service academies playing football. So
and they all want to come back to this area after they graduate, and embed their family into this community as well.
Yes, absolutely.
So what are some other, on that theme, as we talk about our final 5 minutes of the program, the defending the tradition concept, what are you excited about regarding that, and what it'll capture, and what the stories that'll be told?
I think I'm just excited for people to see kind of the grassroots of what makes Centerville football Centerville. I think there's a lot of people not connected just think there's a magic button and the kids just show up and we have so much talent, but it's not the case. You mentioned Bob Gregg. I would argue, because I'm not a Centerville Onian, right? So I wasn't born and raised here, but now I've been here long enough that I consider myself one. I know the old guard's not going to ever accept that, but I would argue that Bob Gregg is the one who changed Centerville athletics, period. Not just football, but he's the person who showed up in Centerville. Because I don't think Centerville was very successful consistently across the board until his arrival, and he brought that mentality of what excellence is. And you don't accept anything but excellence. And if they can't get there, you figure out how to get them there. Now, probably could do it a little different way back in that era, and we've had to adjust that way, but not the expectation. And I think that his personality and approach to what excellence is what you mentioned: cross country, golf programs, track. You can just go basketball, go down swimming. All of those programs have that nugget in them. They understand what excellence is, and they go get it. And I think that's what this community. There's so many people that have, now we're probably third generation, getting pretty close to third generation now, past when Bob Gregg started, and you still hear those dads talk about what that means, and I just think it's so important. I think that's. Hopefully, we never lose that.
I was chuckling at the old stories more, not what you're talking about. I was chuckling at because I played football in the '80s, and it's changed a lot even then. Just of some of the different disciplinary things that the coaches were allowed to get away with, and I'm sure they even were even more extreme back in the '60s and '70s when Coach Gregg coached. So.
They didn't have social media back then.
Thank goodness. I'm so thankful that they didn't, especially for myself.
I think it's funny how we came up with the title, or the name of the show, because we had stopped by your office to talk about the idea, and a bunch of snow had fallen. I think it was maybe like a month or so, 6 weeks ago, and
it's about 2 feet of snow.
Yeah, exactly. Damien
and 0 degrees.
And Damien and I were talking. We were sharing ideas on the potential names, but none were really sticking. And I remember we asked you want to go out to the football field with us, and he. I remember you said, well, you guys could feel free to go out, but I'm not going with you. And it was like 10 degrees, and there was literally...
I must have been busy.
That was the polar vortex.
So Damien and I go out to, we drove out and to the football field and walked around, and of course, it's pretty impressive, the facade on the bleachers marking all the conference championships and the state playoffs, and on the locker room it said defend the tradition, and we saw that, and we both simultaneously agreed that encapsulates what we're trying to do with this program, is talk about the past and the present, overcoming a difficult situation, capturing all what is Centerville football, the community, the pride, the tradition.
We appreciate that. We're really looking forward to it.
And we appreciate you being on the show today. I know you have a busy couple weeks coming up with the boys and girls basketball teams, hoping for deep tournament runs, and then obviously hosting the sectional tournament yourself. And Richie, do you have any parting comments?
No, appreciate it, and I know he's going to be busy, and we appreciate you coming on, and look forward to continued success at Centerville and running the tournaments, and hopefully a couple of teams make a nice deep run, and look forward to following them, and hopefully we'll see one or maybe all of them up in Columbus. So,
and before we sign off, for appearing just like all the other guests on Dayton Sports Huddle The Dish, you receive a gift certificate to Submarine House.
Oh, great.
And this is a great place. Come on down to Centerville, and with all the TVs, it's a great time, especially with March Madness coming up.
come up and see Coach Cups and Coach Creeper every now and then.
And yeah, after celebrating a victory. So everyone, feel free to join us on our Facebook page, Dayton Sports Huddle The Dish, and we'll have details about strikeout cancer on there, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you. Appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, appreciate you coming on. Good to see you again, Rob.
Good to see you.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Good luck with the tournaments.
Yeah,
and,
thanks. That's perfect time. My family's coming up to have dinner with me here.
Oh, really?